let's tie this up and bring it back home to the context of Sierra Leone. The tribal issues we do have in Sierra Leone are merely political. It's the APC and the SLPP issues. On a normal day, beyond the politics, that again has to do with the APC and the SLPP, you don't have incident reports of tribal activities in Sierra Leone leading to chaos. It's merely political. And we tend to see that both the APC and the SLPP, even though many a times they're at each other's throat, when it comes to issues that benefit them, they're actually bodies. Whether it's the MPs in Parliament tying up to seek their welfare or passing something that benefits them, or it's the APC and the SLPP sitting on tripartite committee deciding on what works best for them. So our problem is merely APC and SLPP, not the rest of Sierra Leone. But we tend to allow the APC and SLPP to, as small as their number put together is, when you juxtapose that to the population of Sierra Leone, to affect the rest of mankind. So if you're saying now building national coalition, how do you propose this to work when these two parties have sort of captured Sierra Leone?
Now, when it's a very good question, Phebean. I think you hit the nail. And I get the premise of the 1967. Up to now, our political culture needs to change. People ask me, what is the situation? Doc, you work in Somalia for 5-6 years. I was the head of the Somalia mission in the UN there. I simply tell people it's clash of civilization. The people then say they don't want the Ummah, they're not classical Muslims, Islamic agenda, what we call Salafis. They say they don't want their girls, gender equality is what they were against. That's human rights and the international. But that said, in Sierra Leone, they say, what is the fundamental problem? And that's what Phebean you are saying. The fundamental problem, in my view, and that is why my own friends and colleagues, which you know, even my late uncle was living after me, say, why are you still with this national unity and reconciliation when your umbilical cord, you are Sandy, you are Foray, is tied to one of these identity political parties? I say, no, we need to change. Even if we don't succeed, and that is why all of us who went through Phebean College, the motto is non-CBT said at least, or University of Sierra Leone in
What's
China.
the possibility, Dr. Sanyo, of changing this narrative when the people, you find that majority of the people tend to tie themselves to sympathize with either of these parties.
Yes.
When the APC does something wrong and you point it out, the APC people come at you and say, you're pointing their wrongs out because you're SLPP. When you do the same with SLPP, those who sympathize come and point you out to say, oh, you're calling them out because you're APC. The people, majority, hardly sit back to say, regardless of whether I support the APC or the SLPP, I should be able to look at what they're doing and judge it to see if it is affecting the country negatively or positively, and call them out in the interest of everyone else. The people at this who should be holding these politicians accountable and not let them continue to fan the flames of divide and chaos in the country are the same ones protecting the politicians that we should be shaming and bringing to book.
The point is, when did we get here, Phebean? It's only from 2007. In our generational transformation, from 1996, when multi-party democracy ushered in, remember we had 20-something political parties. That first election, even Madam Zainab Bangura was a female candidate, UP party. I don't know if a lot. Desmond Luke, NUM, many of them. Abbas Bundu had his own party, PPP. Now, we saw how my institutional memory is that, or let's call it matter shared. I think the way forward is one. We have an opportunity with the agreement of national unity, where certain resolutions have been provided for, particularly Resolution 5. It says we political parties, because we're all guilty as political elites, or let me just say political elites. Say elites, academics, journalists, media. We are the people who predate on the people. Because where we know politically, 65 to 70% of our people are politically, what we call political education. They lack that. So we tend to predate on them for wealth accumulation. When do we start to say, when we're in politics, it's for the moral values. It's what Tijan Kaba, Dr. James Jonah, people like Pius Foray, and many of them did, not for self but for others. They died for democracy. They've suffered for democracy. Many of those people like many of them. So how do we make sure that, for example, from 2007 now, we introduce money and politics with a by-election? That's one problem. With a buy, you buy money and politics. I go to some communities, when I'm campaigning, people say, this is not like Tijan Kabane money, it's from the UN. That's not it, because it's not part of my moral values. T-shirt, alcohol, jamba, or kush. No, I don't do that. My religion does not even allow me that. But I think the way forward is one, we have the opportunity now to bring back the constitutional review and referendum process. I am very hopeful. We should not be doing it in a corner. Maybe we will discuss this at some, because we are launching a project next week called The Answer. I'll advocate for a new Sierra Leone. And what do we want to do is to really preempt those things, to move 4 key thematic areas. One, the constitutional review and referendum process. We are not going to leave it like that. Nobody is going to do it top-bottom approach. And I want journalists and others to open their eyes on that. What is the approach, the process of reviewing and completing the constitutional review and sending it to referendum? If as we speak, I just saw one of the newspapers, a referendum 2025. From my experience, practical, not theory, I said to myself, do we even have a referendum act of parliament, a bill? And the last referendum act we had was 1978. So how are we going to educate people that to do a referendum against because there are enshrined clauses in that constitution, and the tripartite report, for example, as you said, out of the 84 recommendations, I can tell you almost 65 to 70 are related to reviewing the national constitution. So we have to be very careful. People can use that part again to smuggle, and back we go into identity. So we want to make sure that we focus on the constitutional review process. Then number 2, in the resolution 5, we have said, how do Sierra Leoneans, we as politicians, small political parties, big, advocate for public financing of political parties? This is very important, Sylvia, because I can tell you the National Unity and Reconciliation Party, yes, it's a group of Sierra Leoneans that established it, but we need to conceptualize what are political parties. Is it the Forays and the Sandys that own NURP? Is it the Charles Magais that own the PMDC? Is it Temo Bangura, late, may so blessed, so own the PDP? Is it Kane Yonkela, do you have left now? Is it the owner of NGC? So that, even the nature of how we design our politics, where we think individuals own political party, is problematic. So what we have been discussed with both APC and SLPP through the PPRC, the South Africans were here. They took us into a conference where they said they showed us all the models of how to fund political parties. Because we should be asking ourselves, Phebean, what are political parties? Are they private sector institutions? Are they media? Are they civil society? Are they NGO? Or are they integral component of the public sector governance? So if we settle for that, then we can find a way that no, because this is what APC and SLPP do to exclude the other parties. So because what is happening is it's about funding. Because if we want to do multi-party democracy, I'm coming. This is serious. Sierra Leone is a signatory to the African Union Charter on Democracy, Elections and Good Governance. Article 3 says all member states, if you want to promote political pluralism, you should make sure whether parties are in the opposition and that they have administrative support, and not campaigning.
And this, Dr. Sandy, it draws me to a line in your, of course, your recent engagements, which says to unite in building a coalition nation. just recently, there was this unity agreement, the tripartite recommendations, for which at some point in time I know you were one of many Sierra Leoneans who were very much vociferous as to the manner at which the body itself was constituted, leaving behind many other political parties, among many other things. But again, how will this be achieved when in actual fact there are still many problems that are yet to be amended in terms of even us having a coalition nation?
This is what I'm saying. For us, you know, in national security, we are trained to look at the threat and the risk, and then how do we respond to that. And I've said one of the paths towards that is to really, not political part, because constitutional review and referendum part, my brother, is not just about political parties. We should be watchful that we want to change a new Sierra Leone. But the point I'm saying that to build a coalition nation, yeah, one of the things, there are two ways we can do this. The current political parties, we have about existing 15 to 16 now, maybe C4C will come back to line. But I'm saying is that the RUF, for example, you said they were here.
Sure.
The RUF, I was part of the Leone preparation, the background. Now, what happened is the model we have for the opportunity cost in those days for rebel movement to leave their guns is to encourage them to transition from rebel movement to political parties. And then they can participate in election. The question is, since Leone, I'm sure the RAF mentioned that to you, has government been providing administrative and subvention for them to function like the ANC and the Renamo and other? No. The same APC and SLB, then greedy. They go to parliament. PPRC prepared an act of parliament before 2023 and said we should provide administrative support to create the level playing field for political parties. They took it out in parliament. They said, no, the party then took back. No. A country where we have 18 tribes, the reason why you fund political parties, if you look at our national constitution, section 35(1), if you go there now, you will see that the roles and responsibility and mandate of political parties are outlined there. There are three. One, say a group of Sierra Leoneans can come together to establish a political party so that they can help to shape the will of the people, the will of the people. Yeah? Then second, they should also help to disseminate ideas that can influence socio-economic character. The last aspect in that section 35, where if you are looking at, it's where political parties have the responsibility to manage candidate nomination process for local government, members of parliament, and presidential. But everybody in Sierra Leone tend to focus on the last aspect. Now, for example, the last 2 years, you will see that shaping the will of the people, this is what you invited me to do. How do we advocate for a national reparation policy for the victims of war? This is shaping the will. How do we change the political culture from Mandela versus Timney line? It is very serious, as you say, it's political, but it's also institutionalized. That's the danger ahead of 2028 or ahead of the referendum. Because ministry, department, and agencies, even the private sector, Phebean, you go to most ministries, department, agencies, when you come to selection and recruitment process, it has, for the last 2 decades, it has been based on surnames. They can tell you, go to the police, the military, people are saying it. And when, for example, we are selecting and recruiting and leading in the ONS, we look at region and tribal balance, we set the criteria. But now, the design of our institutions, democratic institutions, it's not only political, but technically, they're in trouble. Right now, if elections come today, and then the dilemma we have now is that if SLPP lose, for example, some people are sitting now into ministry, department, commission, especially not only political appointees, because those ones they can go, not only cabinet, but the challenge is we have been sitting back, we don't advertise jobs. It has pleased this, we just give you the job. Go and watch Usai, the other person day, and then you go and give the job without competitive, merit-based competition. That is what I'm